Well, hello friends, comrades. I'd like to bring you greetings from the Turkish and Kurdish community from North London. I would like to thank National Shop Stewards Network, in particular Rob, for inviting us to this conference today and also organizing a workshop about what's happening in Turkey. Now I think I've spoken enough about what's happening in Turkey, and I've kind of said enough things about how we can make that movement stronger and how we can actually have more support from the trade unionists in kind of developing that. But what I wanted to do was, I want to give you kind of a background of what Daima is all about and give you some indication of what is our work, because we don't actually classify ourselves as an ordinary migrant community center. So we kind of feel that we're different. Hopefully some of the things that I'm going to say in a minute will demonstrate that. I'm going to start by saying that as Daima, our objective here in the UK is to support the working class under the banner of common struggle against common demands. And again, as an organization, we've never been shy of kind of defending that objective in rallies, in strikes, in occupations, in demonstrations, in every single movement that supports the working class of Britain. We support that because we feel that some of the attacks that we're having from the coalition government, or some of the attacks which we had from the previous Labour government, has no religion and has no race or has no colour, and it affects all of us. We have seen this coalition government telling us that things are going to change in this corner, in this quarter, in this quarter, or in this quarter. And we've kind of been given the same story by our Chancellor Osborne, saying that things are going to get better, we have to cut, we have to do this, we have to do that. But what he doesn't realise is that because of his cuts, because of his changes around the welfare system, because of some of the stuff he's doing around the pay freeze, the stuff around the pensions, the people here in Britain are being affected, and he is not doing enough to kind of stimulate the economy and get it to work again. And we can also see that up and down the country, thousands of people are losing their jobs. We have seen that the official Office of National Statistics showing the unemployment rate at 7.8, which is almost the same rate which we had last year. And he's saying this in a time where he kind of thinks that he's created more jobs. But we know that at the same time of creating jobs, people up and down the country, especially public sector workers, have lost their jobs. We also know that people here in Britain are really suffering the consequences of austerity measures. And I think one of the biggest indications of that is kind of looking at the only industry that's kind of growing at the moment, and that industry is the industry of food banks. If we look at some of the stats from Trust of Trusts, we've seen that almost 350,000 people have used their services over a year, and over 100,000 of those people are actually kids and young people. We have also seen initiatives like the Workfare and ATOS turn people's life into misery. And we have seen, up and down the country, cuts on our public services, on our nurseries, on our libraries. Now, it will be mad to think that these attacks only affect a particular race or religion. And it's because of this we feel that this is not an attack on a particular race or religion. This is an attack on class. This is an attack on our class, the working class. We have seen on the last budget review that these attacks are not going to stop. We have seen the 1% pay freeze on public sector workers. We have seen a projection that 140,000 public sector workers might be losing their jobs. We have seen this constant rubbish that he comes out with to kind of bring the private sector workers against the public sector workers. And we have seen, and again, a 10% cut on the council budget. We are going to take more services from some of the people who really, really need it. And I think in all of this, the that what the coalition government has done is they're trying to blame the whole thing on the migrant communities and and try to kind of divert the agenda from the bankers, from the fat cats, from the people who avoided to pay their tax into migrants. In a way, he tried to label the migrants as, they were the main cause of the recession and of the crisis. And he attacked on migrant communities by saying that they have access to welfare system. But I'm sorry, but that's not true. The migrant communities don't actually have access to welfare state unless their status have changed. So most of them actually live on £30, which is kind of a replacement for job seekers allowance. And their rights for legal aid and all those supports that they used to get has been taken away from them. We've been blamed for taking jobs. So the migrant communities have been blamed for taking the jobs of British people. But most of the migrant communities work in conditions which people cannot bear, conditions which are seen in third world countries, working 14 to 15 hours a day on wages which is equivalent to about £2 an hour, and so on. And we have been blamed for not integrating to the society when he's been cutting down on stuff like ESOL courses, when he's been cutting down on some of the integration fundings that were available, all this stuff that was helping migrant communities integrate to life here in UK. We've also seen, because of these attacks, the rise of the racists like the UKIP, like the EDL, like the BNP. But I am also pleased to say that we together has worked up and down the country to kick the asses of these racist people from our communities and from our areas. As a DIMAC, we believe that we need to highlight our common needs, and we need to show people that we have to work together regardless of our race, colour, religion, and so on. And in doing that, as DIMAC, we try to make sure that our members, no matter where they are taking and working side by side with the workers, with the trade unions, to say to know the cuts and the austerity measures that this government is trying to take. We made sure that our members were on the TUC demo. We made sure that our members were supporting their teachers, their local public sector workers in opposing all this. And we feel that we need to kind of build on this. I mean, communities like ours, or like the Afro-Caribbean communities, have been lied for years by the Labour Party, showing that they are the true party that represents. But we have seen that Labour Party has let us down time and time and again. And it's about changing that. It's about changing and demanding a political organisation or a political party which kind of stands up for us and which makes it quite clear that they will have no cuts in their policies or in their manifesto. And we are glad to say that as DIMAC, we support TUSC, and we will be supporting TUSC up and down the country and making sure their manifesto of no cuts is discussed in the community. And we must continue to build that fight. We must make sure that that fight is getting bigger and bigger. And because if we do that, that will be the biggest answer we're going to give to those racist people. And that is the only way we're going to build a resistance which is going to kick these posh boys out of their office and build a unity and a struggle that we want. So solidarity. Thank you.